Thanks for joining us on Coast to Coast Pest Talk.
So now you with three total people, are you kind of mid-sized for the UK for the companies? You're tiny. Okay.
This is why, going back to the start, this is why I say, please don't do what I say. Don't listen to anything I come up with, and do not think that I am representative of a fucking business guru. I'm not even close. I'm just telling you from my observations of what I saw. But you know that the UK has gone through a major, like, sort of mid-sized company buyout thing at the minute, don't you?
Yep.
Like, it's massive. Everything seems to be getting bought up and chucked in. We've probably got 6 players now that are in the mix. You know, you've got Nurture, you've got Pest Partnership, you've got Tyro, you've got Rent to Kill, Ecolab, Virgo. You know, that's probably what you're looking at. Contigo are probably starting to head that way. They're getting a bit big to be one of the smaller ones. It's a lot more competitive than it was. But yeah, we're tiny.
So are you growing year over year? Like, are you getting bigger?
Yeah.
How often do you think you're going to need to add a technician? Every year, every other year? Or?
I could add 2 now.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It's what we're going through at the minute. The problem I have, and this is why I say don't listen to, is I'm not that great in business. Is that, if I'm totally honest, I don't really know how to do it. Because my gut feeling is at the moment that if I added 2 technicians, I would just end up paying a whole load more wages for not a lot more in return, because we're at that size. And then I think to myself, I've got the software thing going on. I've got 2 lads who I love to bits, who are absolutely fantastic. I'm at a point now where I can sort of step back and let them get on with their own shit, and they can do a bit. And I need to put the time and effort into the software thing. And that, like, do I want to take another lad on? Like, really? And then the next question is, how much money do you need?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, for sure. Well, and I've seen that there's, as we've gone through growth periods, there's these stopping points where you have like really good profitability and you're like, oh, this is really killing it. And then you're like, well, we either stop right here and this is it, or we got to go to the next thing. And the next thing is going to be your profitability goes way down. You spend a lot of money, you're training, you're hiring people. And then it takes you a year or something to get back into that, sweet spot again, where you've built up the work to fill those people that you have. And it's a ton of work and a ton of risk. And the only reason we've pushed in that direction is so that we can provide sort of advancement headroom for our staff. So we have a lot of people that are kind of go-getters, and if they don't see that, 5 years from now I'm going to be doing something cooler than I'm doing right now, they're going to get frustrated and leave. So they're kind of pushing in the back of us to go, let's grow, let's do the next thing, let's come up with new ideas and and add to it. So that's why we've pushed. For Holly and I, as the owners, we don't make any more. Like, I don't think we've made a penny more in 6 years. Like, we make the same amount every year, and the company gets bigger and we spread it out among more people. But it's just like kind of like planting something and watching it grow more than anything.
But I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and I said, like, I set myself the target this year of having 10% growth. That's what I wanted, 10%. Sounds easy. And I thought, yeah, fucking smash that. Like, 10% growth, it's easy. And then you think, like, I don't know, like, let's pick a monthly figure. Say, like, we did 40 grand one month. Like, and last year I was over the moon. Like, did 40 grand in a month. Like, fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Percent growth. All of a sudden, someone turns out and says, "Oh, by the way, this month you've got to do 44," and you think, "Oh my word, I don't think we can do that." And this is why I say to people, making a wage is relatively easy. Making a profit is incredibly hard. And if you try to jump that profit, it takes an extraordinary amount of effort and ability from me. There's better people out there than me who probably can do it very easily and understand that. But for me, who's had no training, no help, who's had to get there on his own, everything, to put that 10% on is fucking difficult. Like, really, really, really difficult. And it requires, for us, without taking on more members of staff, it requires us to have a massive shift in the work that we look at, in the value in the profitability. You know, we need work that we can charge more for the same amount of hours. So that means that we need different skills. And you're like, right, what we were doing wasn't cutting it.
Yeah.
You know, it does, but then how much do you want?
Yeah.
How much do you need?
Right. How much is recurring revenue versus one-time services? Like how much is on like a maintenance program that monthly or quarterly or
So you're hitting the nail right on the head. And this is the limbo that I find myself in now. So we've always looked, my business plan was always relatively simple. If you ring Rent-A-Kill and they say, no, we don't do that, we'll probably say yes. So honeybees was like a massive one, you know, like you ring Rent-A-Kill and say, we've got a bee colony, they'll say, oh, we don't do them.
Yeah.
Because then I knew they're in the pain point, weren't they? They'd no one who could deal with it. And I could say to them, I'll ring Rent-A-Kill, they're the experts in pest control. And they'd ring them up and they go, they don't do it. And I go, no, it's us. We're it. All roads lead to me. You know, we can do that. So you've got this. So it served us very well. But then you look and you think, every month there's a fight. And if you've got that recurring revenue coming in, paying those wages becomes a whole lot less stressful.
Yeah.
But the hourly turnover, so it's like, do I start doing a lot more contract work? I mean, turnover and income would come down without a shadow of a doubt, but would be a lot more settled, would be a lot more attractive to a buyer, because that's what they want, recurring revenue.
Yeah.
Right.
Then then I stand there and I think, and my brain starts playing tricks on us, and I think, if you do what the others do, you'll only get what the others get. Like, you're doing okay so far, so do we look at something else? How do we? And I'm at that point now where, and you've just summed it up in one, that stop. Yeah, we're at that point, and I'm like,
yep.
And I have to examine what we want and where we want to go and what we want to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's the hardest part. That is honestly the hardest part. Like, do I want to undertake the stress of that? What am I going to gain out of that? Where do I want to be in 5 years? Am I going in that direction, or is this taking a left turn into something I didn't expect to go to? The recurring revenue is a big thing.
Part, isn't it?
What's that?
This takes me back to the very first part of this podcast, and it was, why are you worth more?
Yeah.
Why are you worth a share of them profits? Like, are you putting yourself in that position where you're keeping yourself up at night thinking about this with the stress of paying everyone's wages over your head? All right, you're going out and you're doing 40 hours a week. Fucking congratulations. You got paid for every hour you did.
Yeah.
Why? That was the other thing I missed earlier. I was going to say, I was talking to my pal about it the other day, who's an employee, because I talk like this with everyone. And I said, listen, I'm going to give you a scenario. There's 10 techs in a firm, right? And it turns over £1 million. They all bring in 100 grand each. So you say, all right, no bother. And there's a boss there. And they make 100 grand profit. And obviously, I'm saying these figures to keep it relatively simple. And you go, right, okay. And the boss says, listen, I'm going to take a big wage and you'll get a share of the profit. At the end of the year, I'm going to split the profit up, because it'll really encourage you all to do brilliant, and you all get a share of the profit. And they go, right, yeah, that sounds brilliant. For 2 years, it goes incredibly well because everyone's there. Then 2 of them go permanently sick for whatever reason, which happens, doesn't it? You know, and then 2 of them have got to start swinging the lead. And the end of the year comes around and you ain't made a profit because you've lost the best part of 250 grand's worth of income, because 2 are down and the 2 are permanently sick and they're still taking money, you know, and 2 are swinging the lead and they're not doing much and blah, blah, blah. If you turn around to them 10 people and say, oh, by the way, now I want you to go on your bank account and I want you to pull that money out and I want to put it into a break even, they will literally laugh in your face.
Yeah.
Laugh in your face. So it's like, oh yeah, I want a share of the profits. All right, do you want a share of the negative profits or just the positive profits? They're like, just the positive profits if they happen, because we shouldn't really need to risk that because we're employees. Yeah, you're fucking right, y'all.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but watch this. Next thing is, the business is doing really well. There's 10 of them sharing 100 grand and they're growing. And you turn around and you go, now we can take on an 11th man, right? But unfortunately, that's going to eat away at the 100 grand profit.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Do we take on the 11th man and do a grow? And they all put their hand up and they go, no, we're happy with where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what happened when the 9th man, when you are going from 9 to 10 men?
Yep.
Because the same thing would have happened there. You wouldn't have took him on because it would have hit your bottom profit. So they would have literally stopped it. In all fairness, that boss, when he took his first employee on, he said, listen, you're doing really well. We're going to share the profits. And he goes shall we take a third man on? By the way, it means there's probably not a share of the profit. You just get your wages. He'd say no, and that business would stagnate at 1 and 2. And that's why the CEO gets paid, because he's going to absolutely go for it. You know, he's like, no. Like and yous are both business owners. Be honest with us, right? And be honest with everyone who's listening to this. How many times have yous taken a financial hit? Like, would you pay yourself first or your staff first? Like,
staff, 100% staff.
Yeah.
And it's like, so when they come to me and they say, like, I want a share of the profits, I'm just dead honest. I go, why? Tell us why. Tell us why. Here's your scenarios. Tell us why you deserve a share of the profits. Like, tell us what you bring. Because if you bring it and you deserve it, you'll get it.
Yeah.
You know, like, fucking hell. Like, it's a difficult conversation to have, isn't it?
Yeah. No, we had that exact scenario. We pay a profit sharing bonus at the end of the year, right around just before Christmas. And it's, you know, a percentage of our profits for the year that we pay out in shares based on how many years somebody's been with us. So if you've been here 10 years, you get more than somebody who's been here 1 year, whatnot. And last year we had our lowest profit sharing disbursement we've ever had, because we invested that previous year into a lot of infrastructure development, hired 2 new people, sales rep, you know, all this stuff. And we're explaining this, you know, to our people to say, like, this is why this is happening. And you have those people sitting in there. I'm like, because we hired this person, you like them, right? And they're here. That's where that money went, right? If you have the right people, they're cool. If you have the wrong people, or even close to the wrong people, they are not going to be cool with that at all. And it's tough. And I did tell them, if you're in an interesting spot as an employee getting profit sharing bonuses, because we don't send you a bill when there's a loss, right? Your bonus is going to be an invoice, right? Like, everybody has got to write us a check. That doesn't happen. So yeah.
But you're playing your house, aren't you? But then here's the other thing as well. Watch this. For every technician out there, and I know they're gonna fucking hate us for this, but remember, I was one. I took it on the chin. Been there, done it. Got the t-shirt. Every single technician out there, no matter who you work for, can be a shareholder in a profitable pest control business. All you have to do is take a section of your wages, start a Hargreaves Lansdowne account, and buy shares and rent a Killer Orkin.
Yep.
That's all you have to do. And if you go without your holidays and you save $5,000 a year and you put it into shares for the next 8 years, you'll get a good dividend at the end of that. And you can have your shares and you will have skin in the game and you will have put stuff in. And it's like, that's all you've got to do. And it's like, got to go without. Yeah. Like the bloke who started it did for fucking 5, 10, 15 years, whose family went without for a long period of time. So when you see him walking around in a new pair of trainers, I think he deserves it.
Yeah. I think I have a feel of how this would go, Sean, if somebody comes to you, an employee, and says, I want an equity stake in the company because I've been here, a couple of years. Like, you should just gift me some equity in the company, some ownership.
No, honestly, like, I'm probably coming across wrong now, because my 2 lads, if they thought they know what they get, I'd say, okay, why? Tell us why. Tell us what you're going to do. Tell us why. So if I give you 25% in this, why does? Because what a lot of people don't know about is like, I was brought up in a household where profit was a dirty word. Where if you had money, you were evil. You were greedy. Only selfish people had money, and I was a real blue collar, dirty hands. Like, even to this day, my dad's like that. If you've got money, you're an evil person. It's the only way you could get it is because you had people over. Like, that was his whole mindset. When I first started out in business, if someone didn't pay us, I'd get cotton mouth. I couldn't ask them for the money. I couldn't do it. Like, it absolutely broke us. And then like you take yourself to a point where your family's sitting with nothing and they're sitting with the money. Your customers are sitting there like, you know, I would struggle to ask them for people who would pay us because they hadn't. I'd be like, and I think, oh, fucking hell, what am I going to do? Like, and it used to get to us that bad. So then what I did was I sat down and I thought, I'm going to have a rethink here. I was thinking, how do I get around this? How do I get around this? And I thought, do you know what it is, Sean? I was always taught to be a very good employee, like to work me hardest, to try my best. I thought, if this business was employing me as being the credit controller, would I have a problem ringing someone up and saying, by the way, you owe $2,000? And I was like, no. I thought, why not? I thought, because I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for the business.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is sort of liberating this. So it was like, all of a sudden overnight, I could just go for, because I'm not asking, when I ask someone to pay a bill, I'm never asking them to pay me, I'm asking them to pay the business. And then when I took lads on and you realize that their mortgage is dependent, I can kid myself. I think this is for the business. It's to keep their roof over their head. And I can get quite forceful with it now, whereas before I couldn't. And this is, again, going back to the start, this is part of the journey that you'll go on. You'll all have your own things that you've got to come over, and it's going to take years, and it's going to take hard work, and it's going to take self-evaluation, and it's going to take you to look at the nuts and bolts of everything that you do in every manner that you do. So like, if someone comes to me and says, I want an equity stake in Kill Links, I've been here 10 years, I say, go on then, explain. Just explain.
Yeah.
Because if I think that you putting 25%, you doing whatever you do and getting 25% in this business secures it, makes it better and helps it grow, you can have it in the blink of an eye because everyone gets stronger. Yeah. But if you think coming here because you've done 10 years gives you 25%, you're pissing in the wind, fella. Yeah. Like, you're going to have to tell me why you want it, why you deserve it, and why this business is going to get stronger for having you here. Do you know what I mean? Like, how are you going to do it? Right, well, if I want 25%, so I'm going to put this much money in, right? And I've worked it out that we can get this cherry pick and we can employ this lad and does this and does that. And I'm going to take this one. I'm going to open up a branch up there. Oh, bingo. Yeah, you know, right. Let's have a fucking serious conversation about this. If it makes the business, because I don't own the business. The business owns me, doesn't it?
Yep. I love what you're saying about doing it for the sake of the business, because all the hardest things I've had to do in 17 years of owning a business I've been able to do them because I go, this is for our people. Like I have to do this. I have to stand in the fire for the sake of everybody else on our team. And I'll do that. If it's just for me, if it was just to collect money for me or I would never do it. I'd just be like, nah, I'm not, whatever. But I think about, I'm paying the mortgage and the car payments and the, buying food for kids and Christmas presents for, families and whatever. I'm like, I owe it to every one of them to, go out there and do what needs to be done. So I love that.
You have Gordon Ramsay over there, don't you? His kitchen nightmares.
Yeah, I love when he throws stuff on the ground. It's raw. You're gonna kill people.
Yeah. But I watched the program, and I can't reiterate this enough. I love the two lads who I've got, and they're great. And I can only do this and have this conversation because we're all on the same song sheet, and then they absolutely know that I've got their back as much as theirs. So I'm lucky like that because I've got two very mature young men who work for us. But it brings us to one of his things. I can remember watching it, and this bloke was the best boss in the world because he loved his staff, and they were eating the food. And there was the best fucking atmosphere in the world, but they're making no money. They're going bust. And I can remember Gordon Ramsay looked at them and said, "You want to be the friends? How much of a friend will he be when they don't have a job and they can't pay the mortgage?"
Yep.
And I was like, that fucking hits hard. So sometimes pulling them into line and screaming and shouting and being an arse, and they'll tell you whenever I've fallen out and say, I'm only doing it because I genuinely want the best for you. I'm not doing it to be a prick. I want you to achieve your potential. I want you to do the best that you can do for you, not for me, for you. But if I can easily let you be a box kicker. It suits me down to the ground. Go on, go out there, kick some boxes, do the recurring revenue, bring it in, look after your own wages. It's absolutely great. I'll bring someone else in to do the cool shit. It's fine. If you want to be a box kicker, be a box kicker. You can do that if you want to do that. I don't want that for you. I want you to reach the levels of your potential. You've got to go, but I can't do it for you, son.
Yeah. 100%.
I can't do it for you. That's the one thing I can't do. I cannot go out there and learn stuff for you. I can't go out there and examine every situation that you're on and stand behind you going, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? That comes down to you wanting to be the best version of you, and you cannot force someone to do that. They have to want to do it.
Yeah. You can put them right in the right position, and they've got to take that final step across that threshold. Yeah.
But the one thing I would say, which I never realized before I took someone on, is I never realized how people would look to me for the confidence to try something.
Yeah.
I was always fearless as a kid. Do you know what I mean? Like fearless. And I thought that was a common trend. And I never realized how just putting your arm around someone and saying, you've got this, you can see them. They walk out and they're 10 foot tall and you're like, fucking hell, like, wow, like that's, it's beautiful, that, isn't it? And then all of a sudden they come back, or like just saying to them, like, I'm proud of you. Like, they've had a great find on a drain job, or they've been up and they've flown a bird in a stressful situation, and they've struggled with it, but they've got over it, and they come back and you go, you don't know how proud and you are, aren't you? Like, I am, like, incredibly proud. You see them grow and you think, fuck, like, I never realized how we can motivate them to be the better version of themselves. That's always taken me by surprise.
Yeah, it's funny. That's something I realized a number of years ago when I look at it now, sitting in a different seat. When I was 18 and started doing pest control, I come back to the office and I just took a great big yellow jacket nest out of a tree. And I come back to the office, I talk to my service manager, and I'm telling him this whole story. Oh my God, there's yellow jackets. I did this and I put it in a bag, and I was like super excited about it. First summer doing this, and fast forward, 15 years, and I have somebody come in. And they just got done with the thing, and they had their first yellow jacket job, and I'm sitting at my desk, and they're like, "Oh my God!" And I'm thinking to myself, "Wow, I've killed 10,000 yellow jacket nests by that point, right?" And they wanted to show me. They found the queen, and they were showing me, and I'm like, "Oh wow, I've never seen a yellow jacket before." But I had this moment where I was like, "Oh, that's who my boss was, right?" They were hearing something for the millionth time. And it really crystallized for me that, like, no matter where you're at, when that person comes in and they're excited and they're fresh, if you've heard it 1,000 times, you sit there and you listen to their entire story, and you ask them questions about it, and you get engaged with it, because that's their first one, right? And you got to be like supportive and cheer them on. But yeah, it was just an interesting sort of connection point of like, oh my gosh, that was me. I totally did that. But,
I don't know where this has come from. Again, it's not something I came up with, but something someone did with me. But whenever they've done something, I always say, tell us something that went well and tell us something you could have done better.
Sure.
That's that is a big thing, because there's nothing worse than someone coming in and going, could have done that better, could have done that better, could have done that better. You can still ask them, but what went well? Well, actually, it was my first one. I didn't fucking hyperventilate and panic when they started spewing out the nest. Mate, that's a fucking massive thing, in it, What could you do better? I was a little bit rough cutting around the tree, and maybe I could have swept up. All right, yeah.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep.
Did you sweep up next time? Yeah, what happened? Woman said, thank you very much for sweeping up. Yeah, it's noticed, right? What could you have done better? I was a little bit late. I could have rang her en route. All right, no bother. Next time, what happened? I rang the lady. I was going to be late. What she say? She said, thank you very much. And then what happened? Oh, well, she left a 5-star Google review. So I asked her, all right, no bother. Just from that, what did you do well? What could you have done better? Rather than just fucking pulling someone down, innit?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it. I absolutely.
How many lads you got, Gabe?
I've got 5 techs right now, and then a couple office gals. So
when you are over there, do you work on a average amount per technician that you expect them to bring in? Like, so say, for instance, do you say you should be looking after a portfolio worth per technician on an average, or what? How do you do that?
Yeah, we have like per day route averages that we try to keep around. I currently only run 3 routes, so 2 of my routes are doubled up. They're like apprentices that are training. So I have 3 trucks out running.
So
And we
you know, I don't have a clue what a route is. Is that just like?
that's just a truck. A route is a truck.
So I think most time it's like each day you'll have a group of accounts that you're going to be going to. So you have your route. So you have like first Monday, second Tuesday, whatever is the same route each month that you're running. Typically.
Yep, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah. And so we try to stay between $1,000 and $1,500 per technician per day. That's kind of our goal. And it ebbs and flows.
See, I was having this conversation with Rob earlier. I was saying, like, I think with the big nationals around here, they tend to get, and I might be wrong on this, but it's what I've been told secondhand or whatever, so it doesn't count if I'm wrong. It's just what I've been told. They tend to ask a technician to look after around about 100 grand's worth of pest control a year. That's what they tend to want to bring in, like contract work plus like some job work. I said, but then what happens when it comes to, you know, if you want to share your profits out, how does that work? Does everyone get a fair share? Do you get a share on what you have produced? Because then all of a sudden you've got someone with a shit route, you know, that needs to be done, but he's only doing 80, and someone else has got a great route and he's picking up 120, and it's like all of a sudden he gets, you know, he gets however much and he gets this, or do they take it on the chin and go, oh, well, no, but then it's like, well, it is a bit of a shit route because there's not a lot of thingies there, but he's not doing a lot of work. And how do you manage that?
All my guys are hourly, so I don't have any. There's no production based anything, so that's not as much something that we have to deal with. But I know that that's probably I've heard that, you know, when you're getting paid on production, that's definitely an issue. Or like an office gal scheduling, they schedule the high ticket stops on this guy, and these are, you know, we don't have that.
Yeah, we don't either. We pay hourly. I think we expect about $175,000 per technician per year on average. So we'll have some people that are, you know, apprentices, their first year might do 100 grand, and then somebody that's experienced doing 240, you know, thousand.
And what would be an average wage per year for a technician over there? Like, what would be?
I think nationwide it's something like 44,000 a year. Pay. Yeah. For your average. I think there's some that get up to 60 to 70, maybe even 80 if on the really high end commercial technicians, and some, you know, down south that are like, you know, 25,000 a year that they're making as entry level.
Can you monetize the extra accreditations that they get? So say they get an ACE, they get the ACE exam. Can they do jobs which are worth more money, or is this just like a push that you give them to kick them on more, if that makes sense, to sort of
for you, Gabe, I'm not sure. I know for us in New York, we have to have certain certifications to do certain kinds of jobs. So as you go along, you'll add categories. So like if you wanted to do a food plant, you have to have a specific category added to your license. So there's a specific test and
or
licensing.
For termites.
Termites. We don't do
license for termites or carpenter ants.
Yep. So you can add on like features. So you can start out as a base level, you know, apprentice, and you can do sort of general stuff, and then you can add categories to your license. Each time it opens up new services that you can provide.
So is it more? Is it? Can you charge more per hour for termites than you can for, say, yellow jackets, wasps, because they need? Right, I've got you. So for you to turn around to someone and say, listen, like, get that accreditation, I can pay you more per hour. It's because you can send them on jobs which are more lucrative per hour.
Yep.
Yeah. So like for us, if somebody calls us out and has just standard ants, you know, odorous house ants, or I don't know what you guys have over there, but just a sugar ant. For us, it's going to be like, for a couple treatments, you know, kind of a one time, it'll be like just under $400. For our carpenter ant treatment, it's $600.
Oh no!
How much? $400. Fucking brilliant.
So what,
Why-
Sean? What's your hourly rate, Sean? What do you charge?
70 quid an hour. That's what we aim for.
Oh wow.
£70 an hour.
Okay, Gabe. We're
Is incredibly
Yeah.
high where I am.
oh my god.
We're 150 an hour.
We're 200.
Rental
Yeah.
in this country are probably the highest, I would think. And from
Wow.
my understanding of it, they're looking at about 100 quid, £110 an hour.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Yep.
what they try to charge their lads out at. But again, this goes back to that thing that they have £70 an hour and I get paid 20 or whatever it is. And it's like, where's all that money gone? And you're like, yeah, well, yeah.
So if you're charging $70 an hour, and they're getting paid 20 an hour, that's almost a third, right? That's It's like 25%, 28%, something like that. So you're at the top end of what on average a pest control technician makes as a ratio to the revenue they're generating.
Yep.
Yeah.
But this is what I say to the lads. Like it's like how, and I have this conversation with the lads all the time. Say like, how much money do you think you need in the bank? Like, like, what do you mean? Like, or the will do. And I'll say, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I don't know, how much are your wages a month? How much is the fuel a month? How much are the running costs a month? How much is it to pay the secretary a month? How much is it to pay this a month? They're like, right, well, I don't know. Say you've got running costs. I'm just going to make them up, like the 10 grand a month. And you're like, all right, so we just need 10 grand in the bank, don't we? Yeah. All right, well, that's 1 month. You're safe for 1 month, you know. But then all of a sudden, something comes in. There's a van broke. Do you know what I mean? And they want 5 grand to fix the van, 3 grand to fix the van, 13, like someone's off. Like all of a sudden, the tax man comes at you. I had one the other week. We got walloped off the tax man for 35 grand. You know, where that had to be in the bank. Like, like all of a sudden, when you start working out how much, and again, some of the best advice I could ever give you when I first took someone on, I sort of flew by the seat of the pants every now and again. But I tell you what it is, you only have to have 1 or 2 months where you stand there and you think, fuck me, I don't know how to get his wages together. For you to go, do you know what it is? We need a bit of a cushion here.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you think, I'll put a couple of months of his wages away. So you do that. And then you've got to buy something and you think, fuck, I'm back to where I was. I'm like, and you're like, all right, now I need more. Like, just to keep it at a point where everyone's safe and secure. In the way we run it, we always have that cushion that is there, and we'll come down to that cushion, and I just literally like we'll just sit tight. And I'm like, we could spend money because it's there, but I know, and I'm like, sit tight, because there'd be no worse feeling than turn around to someone and say, I'm sorry, I can't pay you this month. And that's like the stress of being a business owner, in it. And you're like, because as you know, everything happens at once. The bloke goes on the sick at the same time that the other van breaks, at the same time the tax man hits you. And I can remember, I promise you, and I know this will get you to laugh as well, I can remember being in a place, right? I can't remember how much it was, but I put some money away. It was just me and Alice at the time. I put some money away. I thought, fuck me, I've got loads. I'm never going to be skint again in my life. I've got that much money. I'm never going to be skint again in my life. It was only about 15 grand, I think it was. And about 4 weeks later, I was like, fuck me, I've got nothing left. Like, oh no, that didn't quite work out. And then all of a sudden, you're sitting there thinking like, oh my word, like, and we're laughing, we joke about it, but that, and it, from an employee's point of view, they're looking at it and think, you're taking the piss out of me, blah, blah, blah. And you think, oh mate, you genuinely don't understand that. For me, and I'm only speaking for me personally, like that stress that hangs over your head of keeping someone's mortgage paid is the number one thing that makes me get up every morning and go to work and work fucking hard. So when they think you don't care, you know, like, and again, I can't stress this enough. I can only have this conversation because my 2 lads, absolutely, we talk like this on a daily basis, like we're that open. And that's probably why we won't grow to be a big company as well, isn't it? If we're honest. If we're deadly honest, it's probably going to hold us back. But, you know, like, it does my nut in. It does my nutting on a daily basis. And then you go like, you want to take another technician on and grow? And I think, I don't know, like.
Yeah. It's that like productive paranoia that keeps you safe.
Yeah.
You're always worried. You're looking for that next problem, that next thing. I'm gonna
Yeah,
stash away.
Where will you? When or where or what matrix will you be happy at?
I'm happy right now.
No, I mean like. So I don't know how many texts you got.
5.
So if I said to you, that's it, 5 for the rest, and you stop at that income, that's you happy.
I would be fine. I don't think that we would stay there. We would. Here's the thing with that. I firmly believe with a business, you're either going forward or you're going backward.
Yeah.
You can't ever stay the same. So I've seen it too many small businesses that were, 2 guys and they got along great and they grew to be whatever they were. And then one guy gets bored with it and goes and does something else. Well, that other guy's left hanging the bag or holding the bag, and he's got to do something. And so like you either got to grow to where you're secure enough, with your size that if you lose some people, it's not going to be catastrophic, and or keep growing and move forward. I don't think you can just stay right there. So I'm perfectly fine if we stayed here and then went backwards a little and went forwards a little and whatever. For me, it's the relationships, figuring things out, building, and problem solving and whatnot. And I don't mean just like at the job sites, but I mean like in the business, like figuring out how it works and how everybody works together and whatnot. So I'm very much okay with just the process and just enjoying the process as we do it. I don't have a need to like grow it bigger to make more money. I do have a need to grow it bigger because I have people behind me that are like, well, I want to do something. I'm like, okay, well, I can shoulder more. So why don't we just grow it bigger, and then you can do this next thing you want to do in our business. And so it's sort of for them. How about you, Gabe?
I probably think about it a little different.
Yep.
If you haven't heard me talk about legacy before, then like that's a huge topic on my mind. I've got 6 kids, and so my goal is to build a company that if my kids are interested in, that they could come into and help run, and that would in many ways be an inheritance for them, or help fund an inheritance for them. And I'm thinking about my potential grandkids as well in that. So I think like how much money we make right now, I could be fine. If we just invested wisely in stocks and stuff, we'd be fine. We'd live a comfortable life. But that's not exactly my goal. My goal is not just to live a comfortable life. It's to set my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids up for success. So that's a big thing for me in how I think about. So my goal, I mean, I want to keep growing as large as we're able to. I want to grow responsibly and sustainably and wisely. But I don't have like necessarily a number where I'm like, once we hit 1.4 million, we're just done or something,
Okay, I want to modify my answer now. Now after hearing that, so I do have a sort of a short-term goal that I want to get to where we're big enough that the day-to-day is taken care of, so I can take every Wednesday off and go fishing out in my boat. That's my one big thing. If we can get to that point where every Wednesday, because that's the best day of the week to go fishing, I can take my boat out and the business can do its own thing. I'm totally, after that, I don't care.
Good to go.
Yep.
I always ask that because I think contentment is something that is a point that we have to get to. I just don't know how, as a business owner, you do it. And I think my older brother is incredibly successful, like fucking incredibly successful, and I can remember talking to him one day and I said, when's it enough? Do you know what I mean? Like, he bought this massive house. I'll tell you how big the house was. Me niece rang me granddad, my dad, and he said, oh, what's the house like? And she said, oh, Pap, it's just Spanish. I said, oh, Papa, it's great. I can do 12 cartwheels before I get to the other side of the living room. I said, all right. I said, so then I was talking to him and I said, what's the new house like? He said, I don't know. I've never seen it, the daylight. You know, I go in the dark, I come back in the dark. I said, when's it enough? Do you know what I mean? When's it enough?
Yeah.
He said, Sean, it'll never be enough. He said, when I've got 1 million, I want 3. When I've got 3, I want 5. When I've got 5, I've got 7. When I've got 7, I want 15. When I've got 15, I want 20. It'll never be enough. So what for? And he said, 'cause it's just validation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
I was going to say, that's a sure sign of somebody that doesn't feel valuable enough in themselves.
Yeah.
Like they don't have enough internal value, right?
Andy, I asked him, I said, what for? And he said, because we never had an out as kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the more we get, the better I am. So he said, it'll never be enough. I said, but you're missing out on like your kids. Like, he said, Sean, like, it is what it is. And I'm going to work till the day I die. And I'm a workaholic, but I'm doing podcasts from my bedroom. So I like to catch the kids before and after. Do you know what I mean? Like, I try to be involved as much as I can. I'm not saying he's a bad dad. He's a great dad. But I always ask business people, I have 2 questions for them. Anyone who's in business, I say, what's your one bit of advice? Because when I first started on my own, I used to think, do you know what it is? I'm going to fucking crack this code. I'm going to ask everyone. And there'll be like 1 or 2 bits of advice that you get that just shine through consistently. And I'll focus on them. I've never had the same bit of advice twice. And I've asked 1,000 people.
Wow.
You know, I asked them all that. And then I always say to them, when's it enough? And that's the one that gets them more than anything else. When's it enough? When you're going to hit the, you know, is it money? Like what you need? I want a nice car and I want a nice house. All right, like what? When's it enough?
What's it for you?
You know, I'm being serious. For me, it's always a case of like trying to learn if I can, because I'm like Gabe. I want it for the kids. Everything I do is for the kids. You know, and I'm not saying I'm the best dad in the world, but I do try. But I'm like, money, I can always teach them how to make money and make a living. It's the knowledge. So like, I'd like to buy a commercial property because I've never done one. I've never had a commercial mortgage. I don't know the process. I would love to sell a business because I've never sold a business. So if they decide, you know, one of them says, you know this, Dad, I love playing the piano and I'll be a piano player. You go, right, okay, then how do I work out how for you to make some money in this? We're going to work out how to buy and sell pianos. So we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. You know, and then he's got a business and he says, do you know this, I'd love to sell this. And I go, I can't help you with that, son. I don't know. Never done it. I want to be able to go, like, have a think about this, go and speak to him, go and do that. And then hopefully they'll get them skills and they'll learn a few more and they'll pass it on to their kids and they'll pass it on to their kids. So it's more the knowledge side of it rather than mate, I promise you, I have like 1 set of going out clothes, 30,000 sets of fucking work clothes.
That's right.
You know, that's like it. Like
That's right.
You know, I work 7 days a week.
Yep.
Like, I work 7 days a week, but it's like, when is it enough?
Wow.
Or do I have to, like, as a business owner, do you have to rein yourself in, or do you have to let yourself go?
I know, Gabe, as you and I have talked, you definitely, you hit it right on the head that like you and I don't have the same like vision long-term for our businesses. And I think that's been interesting for me talking to you of like, wow, Gabe's making totally different decisions than I would make and feeling around, why are you doing that? And you're pushed to make $1 million this year and whatever. And I look at those and I'm like, I would never do that. Cool for you, but I would not be doing that.
Yeah.
It's
Why?
crazy. For me, like I think the sacrifices I'd have to make right now to like match Gabe's pace, I don't want to make those sacrifices. I'm like, well, I'm 20 years older than you, first of all, but I just don't want to have to, like, I know what it would take to go at that pace, and I don't want to do that. So I'm fine with the pace
we're
I'm going
like
at.
completely separate. Like Andy's only commercial. I do very little commercial, mostly residential. I've got a restoration side of mine. A lot of my growth is coming from the restoration side. Like for Andy to grow.
Sorry to interrupt. What's the restoration side?
Sorry. Like clean. You guys replacing attic and attic insulation. Do you guys have insulation? Okay, that type of stuff. For Andy to grow $250,000 in a year of additional reoccurring commercial revenue, is like a much greater feat than for me to sell that in like insulation jobs, right? So yeah.
Yep.
He has a question for you then. So why, Andy, why don't you, if you've got the lads behind you pushing and you've got Gabe there who's doing it, who understands it, why don't you use your knowledge and friendship with Gabe to turn around to one of them and say, who wants to do some restoration stuff? We're in a different area. Let's
Yep.
you want to push, you want to grow. Like, I'll introduce Gabe to whoever it is. We'll add a thing and we'll give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly could be, and a lot of people will do that, diversify your service offering, add things that could be new revenue streams. For me, it just doesn't interest me. So it's not something that I'm like, get excited about. So for me, it's the IPM programs, the actual work in pest control that we do. That's all I want to do. I don't want to chase birds. I don't want to chase raccoons. I don't want to do any other these. That's why we don't do residential. Like, I just want to do the best freaking integrated pest management programs that we can possibly do, and that's all we're going to do. And so I'm just like, here we are, and it means that we sacrifice growth. And there you are.
But Andy's, like, if you look at our service, how our service business service models have been like over the last 5 years, Andy is like going like this. He's getting specialized, hyper focused, and his quality is just, I mean, crazy. And I've been going like this, more generalist, far less hyper focused, which means I have to be okay with just totally frankly, of lower quality. Like, Andy's able to specialize in areas that, like, I don't think any of my technicians, some of his commercial stuff, I don't have a single tech that could even do that. They don't have the qualifications or the training or anything. So it's just like two separate models, really, I think, and focuses.
I think with ours, to gain those commercial accounts, you have to have specialized training and a certain kind of technician that takes time to grow. Like it's very hard to get that technician and get them in and be like, okay, 6 weeks from now, you're going to be able to do a hospital and a food plant. It's like, that just doesn't happen. So we need a longer runway to ramp up sales, because we got to have, as we get new people in the pipeline, they may take a year before they're really confident and able to sort of take over these commercial accounts. Where Gabe, you can hire somebody and probably in 4 to 6 weeks have them sort of in a truck on their own doing jobs. Like, it's just a totally different thing.
Does that help Andy with staff retention and sort of go against Gabe with it?
Yeah. Our staff retention ends up being really high because we're really selective once you're in, and then you have a career path. Everybody we have is on a sort of career trajectory, as opposed to like, well, it's a job, I guess I'll just kind of do this and see what happens and whatever. So we end up, and that's the kind of stress I don't want to take on, is the turnover of employees and retraining people and account attrition, and like all that stuff ends up falling back onto me. And so I'm like, I don't really want to push that hard to crank up the heat on our growth. I'm 28% year over year is fine by me. I'll just keep soaring with that. So yep.
And Andy's business is still absolutely crushing it, and he's got a killer salesperson. So I mean, it's like you're growing at 30% year over year. Like, that's still insane.
See, this salesperson is the other thing, isn't it? When you get to that point where you can employ a salesperson, I feel like that's one of the, and I might be wrong because I'm not there, but it feels like that's the metric where the business sort of grows its own arms and legs when you employ a salesperson.
It's been crazy, because we'll have accounts that I've never met the people, I've never been to the site. The whole process happens without me now, like, which is weird. It's been the last 2 years that we've gotten the salesperson, gets out there, finds the opportunity, does the inspection, puts it over to our service manager with the new account. He sets it up, assigns it to whoever the technician is. And then I'll hear about, like, hey, we're doing this new factory or this, school district or whatever. And you're like, awesome, cool, let's keep doing this. Sounds good. What is it? Oh, it's 10 grand a year or whatever it is. And I'm like, cool. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
And are you the other way? Are you totally hands-on and know everyone inside out, Gabe? Are you
No, I mean, we're fairly similar size. So, and even like breakdown of Andy's got a couple office gals. I've got a couple. So, no, yeah, I'm fairly hands off, all things considered. But I don't have a salesperson, so I'm more involved in that. It's like big accounts. I see, I touch every big account that comes through.
Neat. Yeah, it is funny because we are very analogous. If you lined us up side by side, we're like 7, 8 people, 9 people, something like that. You're probably about the same. Technicians are, about the same. Our revenue this year is going to be pretty close, but the strategy is so divergent. Like if you looked at our actual business strategy and what the work we're doing, it's so different. It's pretty interesting.
And the amount of hair is very different.
Oh no. Oh no.
Sean, you're getting there. You're getting there, brother.
I know I'm fucking fully there, fella. This has been going for about 6 months.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I think it was great. It was awesome stuff. I think it's a conversation that needs to happen more often out in the open.
There is none of the big organizations or anybody are ever going to have these conversations openly and honestly for people to listen to. They won't.
Right.
Savas Otheron, who was the main man at Rent-A-Kill, who's now went to Pest Partnership. You came on our podcast. I didn't do it because it wasn't right for me to do it. But afterwards, he was talking to Alex and Thingy, and he said, "What is the pest control industry?" He said, "From what I can see, the pest control industry is podcasts like these now, because you have done more than any other." And I thought, oh, shut up, man! Like, just blowing smoke up people's asses there, and then you hear them and you think, actually, we are literally having the conversations that should have been had a hell of a long time ago, that the big boys were fucking far too scared to open their mouth and talk about. Yeah, whatever's used of this, if it's used, are the conversations that might be had, whether that's dead things being shown or whatever it is. We've got to keep doing it, don't we? That's it. Right, I'm going to go and terrorise an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old, because it's like, that's what they do, isn't it?
Go get them. Don't get bit.
Yeah, I'd give them all that shit. Like, leave it alone and play me football game. Shut up.
Awesome. Sean, this was fantastic. We'll have you on again another time, man.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
You've been listening to Coast to Coast with Andy, can't pronounce his last name, and Gabe Seymour. Join me, Pete Chopin, probably in another 5 years from now when they invite me on again.